So we're going to start from the bottom, what I believe to be 10th by the end of the regular split. So this is not including playoffs or anything like that. We're just going to start with what I believe at the end of the 9 weeks will be 10th, and then up to first. And I'll do a little bit of an explanation of why. And then at the end of the video, we'll go through the week 1 games, and we'll do our predictions for each game. 10th place, Optic Gaming. Why? Well, if you look at the roster, I mean, Crown is really the only, no pun intended, the only jewel on the team. And to be honest, I don't see any other carries on the team. I think that pretty much all of their wins are going to come from Crown solo carrying. I don't think there will be, if they get any wins, which I assume they'll get a couple, I don't think Crown will be having any less of an impact than any other player on the team. Simply put, he will have the most impact in the game for all of their wins. How many wins? I have them at 4 or 5 wins. It may not be much of a shock. I think most people have them pretty low, missing playoffs anyways. I have them a little lower than they finished in spring. They finished, I believe, 7th in spring. I don't see them getting anything better than what they got last split. I know that I have them lower, and I don't think they really have a chance of making playoffs. I put them lower than what they finished in spring because their changes to the roster don't seem like upgrades, and I personally don't think that they're even like comparable. So I don't see them doing very well. They could make it into that 7th or 8th spot, but I don't think it's very likely. I have them at about 5 or 6 wins. Okay, in the number 8 spot, I have Clutch Gaming. So Clutch, I don't think the name suits them too well. I had hope for this team in last split, in the spring split, with Hooney and DeMonte. I do actually like DeMonte. I know a lot of people don't really think that he's that good, but I don't know. I personally think that he's got some skill to him. I think he just needs to kind of get into the right environment that'll really push him to his limits. And I guess you could say they have a threat in the bottom lane, but I think more consistently they'll be getting their wins through Huhi and DeMonte, whereas obviously with CLG and Optic, it's only through their mid lanes of Power of Evil and Crown. And in the number 7 spot is Echo Fox. I really like the players on Echo Fox. I'm a big Rush fan, so I hate to put them this low. Last split they finished in 6th, just beating out CLG in the tiebreaker. I want to say that they're going to be in the same spot skill-wise within the league. I think the only difference is 100 Thieves is going to be better than them. I just don't see Echo Fox getting the amount of clutch wins that they need to get into playoffs. And by clutch wins, I mean kind of like the upsets. Like I can see the other teams that I haven't mentioned yet that are going to fill in those last spots of the playoffs. I see them much more likely to get those upset wins that they need to get into playoffs. In the number 6 spot, this may be a little bit surprising. I have Golden Guardians. A lot of people have high hopes for them with Froggen and Hanser, Ole. Like it's a pretty good lineup in terms of the names on the team. I don't think that they have anything extremely special other than their solo laners. So I think most of their wins or their win condition is through those solo laners, particularly Froggen. So it is kind of dependent on them or on him, just like kind of how Optic and CLG are as well. But the only difference is that Golden Guardians has a bit more structure to how they can pursue those win conditions, unlike those lower tier teams, which is why I can see them getting into a playoff spot. And clearly, with the same team as what they had in the last split, they definitely are capable of doing it as they finish in the 5th place spot by the end of the playoffs. They clearly have what it takes to get to the higher stages of the teams in North America, but I don't really see it being anything more than a bottom playoff team. And number 5, this is a bit of a jump. It may seem a little sketchy for me to put them this high because they've only really had one change to the roster, but I really do think that it's a good change. I think Amazing is definitely an experienced jungler that has a lot of the mechanics, the drive, the experience, the know-how to get them the wins that they need to make it into playoffs. And I don't really see them doing any worse in terms of team cohesion than they were in spring split. Obviously, they have Soligo in instead of Huhi. Um, I don't really see that as much of a problem. A lot of people think that that's going to be a big issue for them in the mid lane. Soligo, I don't think is that bad. He's pretty consistent in the mid lane. He's not going to be their win condition, but I don't think that that's going to be an issue. I think that 100 Thieves could easily play through their top and bottom lane and through Someday and Bang, and they don't really need another like all-star player in the mid lane. I think they just need someone consistent that will be able to help and roam around the map, which Huhi was supposed to be able to fill that gap, but clearly he didn't. And I think Amazing is just going to have the early game pressure that they need to get those leads in these side lanes. Okay, in the 4th place spot, I have FlyQuest. I'm a big fan of FlyQuest. I like the players on the team, but it's kind of a team that we're going to have to wait and see. I think that 5 with 100 Thieves and Golden Guardians and 6, they have the potential to do it, but I don't think it's very likely, and that's why I have FlyQuest as a bit more of an edge. But I think skill-wise, FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, Golden Guardians are all going to be around the same level, or same tier, you could say. I could easily see FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, and Golden Guardians being like switching back and forth of who they win against. So the only thing that I can really say that'll put them ahead is the proof that they have that they made it to the 4th place position. The only thing that I could really see that could be a downfall for FlyQuest would be that their schedule is going to start off pretty heavy. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to do in terms of mentality, because I wouldn't be surprised if they start off the beginning of the split with like 0-4, possibly even 0-5 or 1-6 by the end of week 3, just because their schedule is going to be pretty tough at the beginning. The beginning of their schedule is against Cloud9, Golden Guardians, TSM, Optic. Like Optic was probably going to be their first win in the split, so they're probably going to start 0-3, and then by the end of week 2 be 1-3, which is definitely not something that you want to have on your standings. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're lower in the standings, depending on how they do in the first couple weeks. But I think after that they'll start to look uphill, because even after that, right, they face Team Liquid, and then they face Clutch, right? So potentially after 3 weeks, it could be 2-4. Week 2 is going to be the week that we figure out how they do. If they put up a decent fight against TSM, and if they take the win against Optic, then I'm pretty confident that they're going to make it to the 4th place spot. In the 3rd place spot, I have Team Solo Mid. Yes, they can pull off wins against higher tier teams like they did against Team Liquid, going 2-0 against them in the spring split. Clearly, as you saw last split too, they had quite a few losses, and they'd beat to lower level teams. I think of the top 3 teams, the reason why I have TSM below Cloud9 and Team Liquid is because I think they're most likely to drop games to lower level teams. And the number 2 spot, I'll just fill in both of them now. The number 2 spot, which may be a bit surprising, I do have Team Liquid. They're clearly going to be a good team. They have the same team that they went to MSI with, and they made a deep run. They made it to finals. So there's no doubt in my mind that they have the potential to sweep the whole league, maybe dropping even 1 or 2 games. They could potentially even have, one of those 18-0 records, but my problem with Team Liquid at this moment is I could easily see them burning out, because they just finished MSI. Team Liquid has only had really a week off before having to start scrimming again. So I wouldn't be surprised that, not necessarily that we'll see any results of that burnout at the beginning of the season, but I wouldn't be surprised at some point in the season we see them drop a couple of games that could be a result of lack of drive from that burnout. I think Team Liquid, for most part in their prep for the week, will mostly be focusing on, mostly be focusing on TSM. And as a byproduct, they'll be putting less time into Echo Fox. I know teams say that they don't do that. They don't underestimate any of their opponents, even though, they may have one game that's against like the 2nd place team, and the second game is against the 10th place team. And they say that they put in equal amount of effort to both games and prep. I don't really buy it. I think there's a high chance that they're going to want to start off strong, and they're going to want to beat TSM, and then Echo Fox is kind of going to be that team on the back burner. So we'll see. I could be completely wrong, but I think there's a good chance that they'll drop a couple games somewhere in there. Not necessarily to lower tier teams, but to a FlyQuest, to a TSM, to 100 Thieves, maybe a Golden Guardians like they did last split. Who knows? I think most people would have Cloud9 as first or second. Um, in my mind, Cloud9, it's consistent players, same roster, consistent performance within the roster. They don't really drop games to lower tier teams. For the most part, they kind of win when they're supposed to win, lose when they're supposed to lose. So that's why I have them high up, because they're like definitely a high quality and high caliber team. So they shouldn't really be losing to any teams except for potentially Team Liquid and TSM. Arguably, they should be losing to Team Liquid and I guess TSM. But because of the inconsistency in TSM as, I guess, an org in history, and potentially an issue of burnout with Team Liquid, I could see kind of Cloud9 seizing that opportunity and getting those wins. Cloud9, consistent team, shouldn't be losing to a team that's in theory going to be worse than them. So Cloud9 takes the game over FlyQuest. Team Liquid, it's going to be a good game, I think. I hope it's going to be a good game. It's kind of hyped up to be a good game because it's the finals from last split. I'm pretty convinced that Team Liquid's going to take the game over TSM. CLG versus 100 Thieves. I don't see anything special really about CLG. 100 Thieves, I don't see them being any worse than they've performed last split, which gives me solid belief that they'll at least be better than CLG. Maybe putting them in 5th place was a bit of a stretch, but I do think that they'll make a climb in the standings. Clutch versus Optic, kind of a boring game, to be honest. I probably won't watch it. I put Clutch over Optic just because of the fact that they have 2 clear win conditions of their top and mid lane versus just Crown for Optic. So it should be pretty easy prep just to kind of focus on Crown and make sure that he doesn't get too fed. This last game, this one should be interesting. I think this will kind of be an indicator of who makes playoffs or who doesn't. Maybe not necessarily because it's the first game and first week, so a lot of things can change. But I wouldn't be surprised if whichever team wins this game ends up winning their second game against the other one, and then that being the reason why that team makes it into playoffs versus the other one, which is why I have Golden Guardians as the team that's going to win this game, because I have them making it into playoffs. And then for Sunday's games, same thing, Cloud9, consistent team. They definitely should not lose to Clutch. Clear win for Cloud9. FlyQuest versus Golden Guardians, I think this is a good game as well. This can kind of see how they're going to interact, those teams. FlyQuest, Golden Guardians, 100 Thieves, potentially Echo Fox as well might be in the mix there. I would normally say that I see FlyQuest taking this one, but Golden Guardians, I think, will have a better start to the split. I think FlyQuest has got a bit of a busy early schedule. So I'm giving the edge to Golden Guardians, but I don't think that's going to affect the standings for the end of the split. Echo Fox, Team Liquid. Echo Fox could make the game close. I think that the game will be closer than expected because Team Liquid will put most of their prep energy into TSM in that first game. But I think Team Liquid still clearly has the edge. TSM over Clutch, same thing. TSM, sure, they could drop games to lower tier teams, but they don't usually drop to the 8th, 9th, 10th place team. So TSM over Clutch or CLG. And finally, last game on Sunday, 100 Thieves and Optic. Same concept. I don't really see Optic getting many wins. If they do, it's going to be against the lower tier teams like Clutch and CLG. 100 Thieves, I'm really hoping that they have a good team because they've put a lot into that team and they really shouldn't have that bad of a performance at all during the split, that they'd be dropping games to a team like Optic, but who knows. This is kind of what I'm predicting the week 1 standings to look like by the end of Sunday. So we'll have 4 teams at 2-0, 100 Thieves, Cloud9, Golden Guardians, and Team Liquid. 3 teams at 1-1, Clutch, CLG, and TSM. And then the bottom, we'll have Fox, FlyQuest, and Optic at 0-2. So I know that FlyQuest and Fox are supposed to be up higher in the standings, and again, I'm just going to emphasize that I think that this is just because that they have a tough early game or early schedule, as well as I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm willing to bet on it, that they will be starting off slow. So FlyQuest most likely will have a slow split, beginning of the split, but likely will be able to climb up the standings later. And then teams like Golden Guardians probably drop a couple more games. Clutch will definitely drop more. CLG, TSM will probably pick up a couple more, which I'm predicting will end up with the final seeding after the 9 weeks to be something like this.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Support for Life here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Turn on those notifications for new videos because obviously they won't be coming out regularly. If you guys want, you can also follow me on Twitter for updates on when videos are going to go live, as well as when I'm going to go live on Twitch at twitch.tv/supportforlife. If you guys have any suggestions on what to hunt for next, be sure to definitely leave a comment down below. You can also pop by my stream whenever I'm on, or you can even join my Discord. All the links will be featured down below in the description. Thanks, guys. Peace.